I've got clean teeth and flossed.
And I'm going to tell you that my mouth is dirty.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
That's okay. I clean my teeth after I've eaten breakfast, not before.
Have you not eaten breakfast yet?
No, not yet. I've taken the dog for a walk, and I have done some sanding and some painting.
Wow.
I know. I know.
You're Professor Productive, aren't you?
I mean, yesterday I set up a new office space for Bob because she needs a desk at home, and she hasn't had one up until now.
Where did you put that?
Well, we walked around. It's a wall-mounted desk, so it's one of those ones that folds up and that disappears because that's what she likes. She doesn't like the idea of a place.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's she wanted somewhere where she would be able to have Teams meetings and Zoom calls and those kinds of things rather than sitting and typing. I think it was more a place to be filmed from or broadcast or whatever, those kinds of. How do we think it's not filming and it's not broadcasting? What is it? Teamsing, Zooming,
video
Google
conferencing.
There we go. She wanted a space for video conferencing. So we looked all around the spare bedroom / clinic space.
Yep.
And we thought we found a perfect space in between the shelves and the window, nice natural light. And we were just about to hang it, and then I balanced it on the little stool outside of the bedroom door. And Bob went, oh, I like it there. So it's actually in the hallway.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very that's very intriguing. It's quite a narrow hallway, if I remember correctly.
It's directly outside of the spare bedroom's
door. So there's another door, isn't there? A door out there?
Exactly.
This is great podcast material, by the way.
It's fascinating for everybody else, isn't it?
This is a podcast in which two friends talk about the pleasures, absurdities, and imperfections of being human. I'm Simon Ellis.
And I'm Lee Miller. Welcome to Midlifing. And it never ends because on Wednesday...
It never ends.
We're getting a new carpet fitted.
Oh, the stairs?
No, the stairs has been done. This is the front room. We liked the stairs so much, we're doing the front room.
Wow. Jeffrey will be beside himself.
He will be, because he loves the stair carpet. It's one of his favourite things in the world.
How does he express that favouriteness?
By rubbing his face on it when he's eating his dinner.
Of course he does.
Wow, you installed a massive napkin for me. That's so kind of you.
Yeah, fluffy napkin.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's a white carpet.
It's not white, but it is light. It is true. Okay, so this is not what we were supposed to be talking about today, because you came with a topic.
Oh, yes, it's an old topic. Not an old as in...
We've done it before.
Yeah, not that. It's more that we haven't got round to it each time. Something happened recently. Two things happened recently, which I thought you would find quite interesting. One of them was I met someone for the first... In fact, the two different instances involved meeting someone for the first time. And one of them... who it turns out was more or less the same age as me, proceeded to... It's hard to describe the context, but the context was... It's enough to say that it was not social, meaning it was a little bit like of a formal situation, but not hyper formal. It's really hard to know. Just meeting someone for the first time under a particular circumstances, and this person.
Okay, so can I just?
Yeah, sorry, that's not very clear, but it's just a wee bit.
Well, that's. Okay, so for listeners, Simon has just, and I've cut this out, Simon has just explained the full context, because he's right, it's not work-related, it's not social-related, it's one of those things, here it is, you know when you go to buy a car, you've gone to buy a car and you meet a variety of people in the process of buying a car. It's that kind of thing where it's not social, it's not work, but you kind of faux friendly, not quite formal. It's one
a little
of
bit
those weird things where
sizing
you don't know
people
how to
up
be.
and trying to, and you're trying to
Yeah,
be nice
yeah.
and trying to, trying to get along and exactly.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Gotcha. Oh, that's okay.
Thank you. And this person, over the course of, it was a long purchase of a car, a hypothetical car, an EV, let's say.
Ooh, don't get me started.
Whee!
I went in one of the a top of the
Wait,
range.
you
I
said
think
don't
it's-
get me started, and then you
But
started.
I'm going to tell you. Anyway. I went in one of those like DeLorean door Teslas the other day.
Oh, did you?
Oh, it was shit. It was really, really shit. It was awful. Anyway, carry on.
Don't get me started on that, man.
Ugh.
There's a great website which is it's basically a collection of his lies. Anyway, and
We're not allowed to vote as far as he's concerned because we are non-productive, because we don't have a stake in the future of humanity, because we don't have children. We shouldn't be allowed to vote. That's his recent thing.
that's worked well for in the past, where how people vote for their long-term futures or the futures of their children.
I mean, absolutely. Self-interest never kicks in. We always think about the next generation, which is why we're absolutely doubling down on making sure that oil bosses are held to account.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
British Gas didn't make 699 million last year.
Anyway, I've got a pickaxe, and I'm going out this afternoon. I'm going to go look for lithium in the local park here in Coventry. I'm hoping I might strike, lithium.
So you're in this weird car buying situation that went on for a while.
All
which
right.
isn't a car buying situation.
Anyway, and the guy, and I'm going to say a guy, I think that's okay to say that, started telling slightly racist jokes, and then increasingly overt racist jokes. Like really the kinds of things I thought, wow, I heard these kinds of things in the 1980s, but I'd never thought that they still kind of existed, that they still happened, particularly in a context where you've just met someone.
Yeah.
And it occurred to me, okay, and then so that's one. I'll put that one there. And the second one was another situation, different people, met someone who made a comment about TERFs.
Trans-exclusionary radical feminists.
Exactly. And
We talked about them last week.
well, maybe it was the week before. I can't remember.
No, it was last week.
Oh, right, great, nice. Yeah. And it occurred to me, and it was these things happen within, let's say, a week or two of each other. And putting aside my politics, it occurred to me that what both things were doing was almost a way of checking, am I on the team?
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder what you think about that. That all they were doing was they were basically social
sniffing.
Yes, social sniffing.
Yeah. They were like sniffing your bum.
Yeah.
Like you're a dog.
Yeah.
I mean, in this instance, you have to be a dog. Otherwise, that makes no sense as an analogy.
But it's great. Social sniffing is fantastic. And so the thing with the racist jokes, which were shocking, I have to say, nothing I haven't ever heard before, but as I say, decades ago, I totally blanked them. So I chose not to say, as my father would have done, that's appalling. You've said this. I don't find this funny. I was absolutely stone-faced. And so there's a part of me which is a little bit disappointed. It's tricky because, as you know, the situation, I couldn't.
Yeah.
I felt a little bit like
it wasn't your situation to dance on.
because in fact it wasn't me buying the car; it was someone else buying the car.
Exactly. Yeah.
A lot of cars have been bought in this episode, but the other one regarding the turf, I think I made some response which was a little bit, I understand, but that I'm not so sure. So it wasn't resistance, but I certainly wasn't ho 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 ho. Yeah, and I'm lots of things going on there, and I just thought you might be interested, and I would love to hear your take on those things, and perhaps how you would respond under those circumstances, both your best self and your worst self.
Well, I think it's interesting. I've experienced racism and homophobia explicitly in Portugal, and in both instances from somebody who I know very well, and who I like a great deal. And in both instances, I just said, "Mate, that's not okay. We are a different generation." Just to be clear, it's not my dad.
It's your mother. It's your mother. She put down her spreadsheet to tell a few racist jokes.
These weren't racist jokes. It was sort of I would say glancing racism, the kind of thing where an entire class of people are demeaned or dismissed. Yeah. With a sentence, and it's just like, whoa, okay, that's not okay, and then something was described as gay. This is not in the same. This is like in the course of like nearly 10 years of knowing somebody. So these are two instances, and in both instances, I was struck. It was like cold water, because this is not who that person is, in the sense that they are generous, they are kind, they are thoughtful. And
so that's a message. You can be both homophobic and racist while also being, would you say, generous,
absolutely.
kind?
Yeah, absolutely. But when you only know somebody through one filter, and then suddenly you see another side to their personality, it's shocking.
Mm. And so, when you said that's not okay, and you said it in both times, same person,
yeah,
and
same
did
person. And it was like probably about 7 years separating the two conversations.
Right.
They both stick in my head.
And did the person understand what it was that was not okay?
Yeah, with the racist one, it was kind of like a and shrug of the shoulders, and I didn't know them as well as I do now. So I just went, "Oh, that's not okay," and then we just moved on. It was awkward for a little while, and then the conversation shifted. But with the that's gay, which is like that was effectively what was being said. Ugh, that's so gay, as a critique or something. And I was like, yeah, and so I just went, oh, no, let's not move on. Let's just take a moment. First of all, why do we think that's gay? What do you mean by that? Well, and then it was just a case of unpicking it and going, no, talk to me about why you're using that. Talk to me about all the gay people that you know. And it was just a kind of like encouraging him to step into a realization that he was using a slur that was connected to a group of people of whom he has he doesn't have an axe to grind with them. So it's like it was just one of those linguistic things that had happened in that instance. And I as I said, I didn't know him particularly well where the racist thing happened. So I felt it was important for me to mark it, but I didn't feel I knew him well enough. And also, his English wasn't good enough, and my Portuguese wasn't good enough at that time. We've both improved to be able to have had a more deep conversation than the one that we had more recently.
And so he was using English at the time.
He was using English at the time, because he said that's so gay. So I think probably there was something for me about being outside of my own cultural context that maybe allowed me to say that's not okay, because I was like, I don't know. Was it? But I guess part of it was also trying to understand how it sat in the way that people talked about people in a totally different cultural context than the one that I'm used to living in. I haven't.
Yes, that the words have different. The words have different. I guess powers or contexts, or which is not to say they're okay, but they I think that we've heard that we've heard that in the context of sports, which you may or may not. That's a thing that people do when they play each other in games, competitively. And
I've heard of the idea of it. I just don't. I don't understand.
yeah, and where a player, there'll be some kind of racial slur that happens, and then the defence for the player who made the racial slur is that in my country that's not a bad thing to say.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That was totally not the conversation that I was having, because I wasn't told this is not a bad thing to say.
No. But it just reminded me of that.
What? Talk to me a little bit about feeling disappointed.
The main thing for me is that kind of fishing to be part of a club. It has such a long history for me that I balk. I'm so allergic to those kinds of that kind of fishing. Do you want
that you don't want to be part of a
any club? The idea that that I'm somehow being lured through in these cases through language to say, "Yep, I'm part of your club," is I'm I feel I have such a strong response in my body very, very quickly to those kinds of things. The racism one is far easier because those arguments are much older for me in terms of my background and my understanding of the world of, let's say, the racism or the racist world. But the other one was, I think disappointment. I don't think I would describe it as disappointment. I think I'd describe it as, it's more like, should I have responded differently in both circumstances? And it comes down to that thing for me of, well, I think anyway. Maybe I'll just propose this and see what you think, which is that I'm so tuned into the social aspect of being human that it's front and center in any of those kinds of those kinds of exchanges, whereby the wanting to connect with the human, with this other person, is much, much stronger than those, that the possibility of excluding myself by using the lingo, calling them out for something. The desire to connect is so much stronger for me, and the fear of the disconnection. I'm not quite sure that's the right word, but the way in which those are dialed in, or I have them dialed in me. Okay. So there's some kind of paradox there. Again, as ever, I don't really want to make this about me or about you specifically, about these ideas about, Yeah,
no, I understand that, but I also think there is something about that contradiction that sits in your body that is interesting for me, apart from your body, which is that sense that you've said you don't want to be. You don't like those moments of feeling like somebody wants you to be part of a club. Yeah. It's almost like, nah, fuck you, I don't want to be in your club.
Yeah. I'm resisting. Go on.
Yeah. But at the same time, you find it difficult to be able to go, fuck you, I don't want anything to do with you. Don't use that language with me. You can buy your own fucking car, kiddo. I'm off.
Exactly.
And so that's because,
So there's a paradox there, which is, or a tension. There's tension there, which is hard to reconcile.
I think this is one of those cans of worms where there is no right response, because there is only one right response. For me, and I think that what I'm going to say.
Yes.
And then we're going to get into that sort of,
but.
Exactly. Moment where we recognise that we stand on very, very different sides of this.
And so we should just
we should just move on.
No, I was just going to say we could just let's leave a space here for long-term listeners to fill in the gaps of how this conversation's about to go.
Yeah. So if you want to just pop down to your local betting shop and see which way Lee's going to fall in this conversation, I guess the odds will not be in your favour.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, for me, it's a pretty simple case of going, thanks for your time. You can stick your car up your arse. I've got to go. And even though it's not me buying the car, I am. Oh yeah. So we were talking recently about me being angry all the time.
I think that was just last week, or maybe it was the week before as well.
Yeah, it was. But
it's
but
the last 6 episodes of being.
But that sense that anger is something that is quite close.
Are you shouting
to the
at me
surface.
right now? Could you just lower your voice a little bit? I'm feeling a little bit.
I mean, I'm sorry that you feel attacked. That's your reception, not my intention.
Sorry,
I'm sorry you
interrupt.
feel that way.
See,
I'm
previous
going to work on
apology.
my
I'm going to
classic
cash in my apology.
non-apologies.
Right?
Yeah, it would be for me one of those moments where I would rather hash out the difficulty that I would be in with the friend who would be made uncomfortable and embarrassed by the situation. But I would go, I'm sorry, I can't be here. You're being a prick. I've got to go. I wouldn't probably say you're being a prick. I would say, sorry, that's racist, and I really don't want to get in a car that a racist has owned. And that would be, I think, and then it would be a hard out. I'd just be like, I'll catch you at the cafe. Take care.
Yeah, I mean, what happened here, I have to say, was that it also aroused my curiosity extraordinarily. Like it really did. That particular instance, I was like, how do I try? Like I really was trying to make sense of this human being.
Yeah, and I that I value your willingness to spend time on that project, and that all I can do is think about all of the people of colour who are in my life who they suddenly are standing by my side in those moments, and I think, how would I feel if they were with me and they were witnessing my behaviour? That's where I got. It's like, so there's no curiosity anymore because this person in front of me is an abstract. My friends are my friends. So then it's like, and we know I'm part Labrador. I'm basically, you cross my friends. As my mum would say about me when I was little, oh, well, if you kick one of Lee's friends, he'll limp for a week.
Lee will limp, meaning you will limp.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's that was what my mum would say about me. It was one of those like real problems that I have of extreme empathy, and then which again, if we're talking about contradictions, makes no sense about the fact that I then walk away and go, nah, you're dead to me. So those two things live in the same body in exactly the same way as the two things that you're talking about, because we are complicated human creatures, aren't we?
Yeah,
so.
I mean, I think there's, as we've talked about in recent weeks, that the various things that this podcast is about, but certainly it's a strong theme, isn't it? Which is exploring these kinds of contradictions and how we live with them, how we express them when they're expressed, when they happen to us, and I can that lovely sensation of going, I should have, those kinds of feelings going on.
Oh, but there is no should have. There is only that you did.
You sound. If you could, that was almost Yoda-esque then.
But it has to be, it has to be Yoda-y. You just have to kind of go. You can't kick yourself for what you didn't do. You can.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, I was going to say you can only learn from what you did.
Exactly. I'm not.
Ultimately, it's which is it?
Yeah.
Do you think I'm in this scenario with my friend buying a car? This friend needs my car buying expertise. I have to hold them in this moment. That is my primary function here. Everything else falls away. Or I am a social animal who is responsible for the world at large. They're the same thing. They're the same thing. It's just where are you going to point your focus?
Yeah. And I was having
my
these.
friend to have a car.
I was having these conversations with myself. at the time. Very articulate too. I was with myself.
I bet you were. Hey, how's your oven?
Oven update. So they
Oven update.
they installed the
Oven update.
they installed the replacement for the one I broke.
Right.
So this is the one
Okay.
that the real estate agent or the landlord effectively paid for.
Is it as shit as you were worried?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so it's just one of those boxes that gets hot.
Yes, and it doesn't quite get hot enough for bread. And so I spent, whilst this is baking 10 loaves of bread, trying to figure out which part of the two ovens, because it's a top and a bottom, get hottest. So there's some slightly, not quite as nice, the bread, as I would have liked. So yeah, it's disappointing. It's disappointing.
I'm sorry. If only you had a garage that you could install a massive industrial strength oven instead.
Yes, if only I had someone to help me lift the thing when it arrives as well. Because it occurred to me the other day when I looked at the specs that it's going to be too heavy for me to lift by myself.
Oh no!
By a long shot.
Oh no! So what's the plan?
I have no idea how I'm going to get it off the street.